So today I thought we would take a look at some Barry Harris stuff and how you can apply it to Django Reinhardt tunes. It's not even that, it's like finding the stuff that Barry Harris talked about in music. Since I started looking at Barry Harris stuff, and primarily I've learned from this book, the Barry Harris Harmonic Method for Guitar by Alan Kingston, and a bunch of YouTube videos with Thomas Eccles and Chris Parks. I'll put links to all of this stuff in the description. That's how I've learned some Barry Harris stuff. And since I started looking at that, you find it in music that you didn't see it before because you didn't think like that. And especially I find it when I play the music of Django Reinhardt or in this so-called gypsy jazz style. The stuff that Barry Harris talked about is all over the place in that music. And somebody mentioned the same thing in one of the Q&As I do with my patrons monthly, that why don't you make a video about that, because he also found a lot of this stuff in Django Reinhardt's music. So there are 3 tunes we're going to look at that I think are very, very good examples of the kind of stuff that Barry Harris talked about. So let's get started, shall we? So the first tune that I was playing there is called Micro, and let's just play it, and then we'll talk about why it's a good example of the stuff that Barry Harris talked about. It's really fast tempo there, which it should be. So the way you play it is like this. So you can play. So that's a G triad, right? A diminished shell voicing and another shell voicing. So if we make those 4-part chords, it would be this. So that's a G6 to a diminished. I think of it as a B flat diminished to a C6, which is also kind of an A minor 7. If we played it in root position, drop 2, right? That's a G6. Diminished to C6. So that's the harmonic movement. So instead of thinking like rhythm changes, we're just thinking of, and what is the movement? Well, it's this, right? 2 notes go down chromatically like that, and the other 2 notes are the same. So those are sixths, and those are sixths. 2 go down, and 2 stay. Voice leading. Then if I do the inversions, and then down here. And if I drop the bottom note, I have what they're playing. I like to play that E there. It gives it a little more power. Inversions. There it is. So why is this important to know? Couldn't you just learn the tune and put put your fingers there. Well, if you understand the harmonic movement, you can do things to it. There's so much you can do with this stuff. And this book that I, by the way, covered in previous lessons, it explains very well all the things you can do. You can borrow notes, you can omit notes. So we could, for example, drop the bottom note, and then we get. And here, if I drop the bottom note. That's just an example. You could drop any of the notes. I just dropped the bottom note there. It's also interesting to kind of think about this, right? There are the two notes moving. And here it's there. So this starts with this shape, ends with this shape, and the inversion here starts with that shape and ends with the other shape. So it's kind of reversed. Same thing here. Start with this, and then you start with that, and end up with the other one. So they're all kind of related. You should, of course, go through the different string combinations. So we're just gonna do drop 2. I'm saying this right there. They're drop 2. Yeah, they're drop 2. So the middle set of strings. I don't want to make the video 2 hours long, so we're just gonna do drop 2s. And then this. And finally. And here's interesting. Let's do the bottom set of strings. G6, G diminished or B flat diminished, C6 or A minor 7. That's a great sound. And here. So if I take this one. So you have to wrap your head around that this is a C6, it's not an A minor 7, even though it is an A minor 7, but I think we're thinking of it as a C6 kind of. So what happens, these are not very user-friendly voicings. So what we often do, we drop the tenor voice, which is the second from the bottom. I get this. And that's basically what the chords are that they're actually playing. They play a D7 there too, so that's how I play it, I think. There are combinations of this. Sometimes they play, they go to the 2-5 to the 4 chord, but I think the most common thing is to just play these chords. So this is the same thing, right? As this. Just different voicings. So the melody and the comping are the same harmonic movement. What if I did some inversions? Yeah, so this one works best, and this is a very, very common chord progression in gypsy jazz, in early jazz. You often start tunes like that. And then you're in the tune. So I'll put the PDFs to the tunes. I made charts for these 3 tunes, and I put them on my Patreon page so that you can download them if you don't know the tunes already. So you should learn the tunes and then apply this. So you practice all the inversions, the different string sets. And the next. But I think it's better to do it with a tune instead of just doing it kind of going through the motions. So find a backing track and then just play along with it, because then you're also playing music. Inversions. Another string set. I like this one. But then you drop. So it's basically the same thing. Just. What if you drop the tenor? So some of them sound better than others. So yeah, let's move on with the next tune, which is Troublant Bolero. So again, let's just play along. Here's a backing track. This has this famous intro. I think it's this. Wonderwall, and then I think it's this. Sharp 9. I'll show the chords after. Those chords there in this backing track, this is guitar improvisation backing track, Troublant Bolero, gypsy jazz backing track, jazz manouche. They play like they do on the recording. There are several recordings. He recorded this tune 2 times, I think, but they play like this, I think. So it's a bolero and it's an E major, right? So Barry Harris often talked about how if you have an E chord, this is E6. Very common gypsy jazz voicing. Just a 6 chord, drop to second inversion. When you have a major chord, you can play a 6 chord from the 5th. So a B, this is a B6. Over E, and then kind of you could resolve. That's a harmonic movement. So instead of thinking this in some kind of E major 9, I guess, where it is E major 9, we're just thinking of harmonic movement, and then the diminished chord in between. Same thing that we had before with a different situation. I I should mention that when you play this tune, you don't often comp like that because it's a little bit too much and it gets in the way of everything you're just playing. Like an E major 7 or E major 9 or something. It's a little bit too... But it's so fantastic that it's exactly what he's talking about. And it's a very... That's literally what they're doing. They play a 6th chord from the 5th. So again, you could do the inversions. And finally. So now that you know that, you can play all these inversions and different string combinations and all this stuff that if you had just learned the chord shapes and you don't understand what's going on harmonically, you can't go anywhere with that. Here, if you understand the theory, and it's not, you know, Berkeley theory, and again, I'm saying that just to compare it to something, I have nothing against Berkeley theory. It's just that Barry Harris have a different take, and in this case, it works much better, in my opinion, because it's exactly that. So you could play up here. And then, I think this happens. It's a minor, E minor 7 to A7 to D, a 2-5. But you can hear that movement. So I think it's the same thing, right? So to just drop it to a they're doing that. So what you just did before, you could just do with a G instead of G sharp. You get some interesting. So it's like a B6, but with it's a B flat 6 to E minor 6, and the chord in between is actually a dominant chord. I'm not sure they're doing that, but it definitely has that. And then if you do it up here, for example. Again, when you're comping, you shouldn't be playing all this stuff if you're comping this on the gig, because it's too it gets in the way of everything. So it's better to just keep open and play regular chords. Just be aware of that harmonic movement, that you can throw it in there if you're comping or if you are soloing. Just being aware of that harmonic movement. Yeah, so the chords in the beginning, I don't quote me on this. I can't remember the order, but he's playing this chord, which is a fantastic chord, right? It's an E, the flat 7 and a sharp 9. So it's a sharp 9 with the 5th. Then he's playing this chord, I think. So that's an A13. And then he plays I think he does this. And then I thought it was this always. So that's a... The books usually say A13 flat 9. But I think it's actually this. You let me know what you think if you listen to the intro. Is he playing that? It's like a Wonderwall, but dropped. So that would be a A13 flat 9 flat sharp 11 over E. Or maybe it's not playing the E, just that. I'm not sure, but those it's just an example of what a genius Django Reinhardt was to play all those kind of crazy harmonies. We also find it in the bridge, right? A minor, diminished to major, and then another diminished chord. Last tune I want to look at, and again I'll put PDFs on these tunes for you Patreons, and so you can learn the tunes, is Dream of You, which is actually not written by Django Reinhardt, but it's in the style. I actually don't know who wrote this tune, but let's play it, and then we'll talk about the harmonic things happening. Third in the bass there. So it's this thing. So it's not written in the chart, it's just something that you're supposed to throw in. And people play those stabs a little bit differently. The way I learned it, I think, was this. So the melody goes. But it's not part of the vocal melody, it's just something that they came up with after, I think. Guitar don't want to stay in tune today. I learned it this way. Or even. So 6/9 diminished, diminished, 6 or major 7, then major 7 here, diminished, diminished, and a 6 chord. And people play it differently. I think Stockel or Rosenberg just plays the same. And the chords in the books I've seen, they say E major 7 to E diminished to B7 to E. I think I've talked about this tune in a previous video. I talked about Barry Harris because it's such a good example of this. So if we turn those into if we turn them into regulars, the basic Barry Harris harmony, it's a 6 chord, diminished, diminished, 6 chord, 6 chord, diminished, diminished, and a 6 chord. And now we think about this, well, the F sharp is a borrowed note, right? This idea of borrowing notes. So the E6 has a diminished chord under and above it. And you can borrow any of those notes. I mean, it's gonna sound good sometimes, and other times it's gonna sound kind of strange. So I can borrow the F sharp. So instead of thinking that there's some, you know, E6-9, it's just the E6 with a borrowed note from the diminished chord above. That means I can borrow other notes as well. It opens up this way of thinking. It opens up the possibilities of what you can do. So this is also a borrowed note. And this same thing, same chord, it just played here. So you can borrow, I could borrow this, D sharp there. Here I could borrow the E instead of then it's an A minor 6, right? So all of a sudden it sounds like this. So I want to be really spicy. Now, this is more built for sale than Django Reinhardt, right? But borrowing the D sharp on the bottom. You can play that. And of course you can do all the inversions, different string combinations. You could do more spread out voicings. We're not looking at those today. You see how it opens up all these possibilities. What I think these chords actually are, it's E to F sharp to kind of B or even A minor. Do. So we have E6, G diminished. You can drop any note a half step. Well, then you have an F sharp. So the F sharp is kind of hiding there in that diminished chord. So I just changed that note and I have this. And the next chord, I drop this, the C to a B, that's a B7. So E6, F sharp 7, B7, E6, E6, yeah, then the melody note changes. So just for fun, what if I drop another note? I could drop the C sharp to a C. Then I get a C7. B. That's also a common progression. Right? Right? So all those harmonies are kind of the same thing. It's just different variations of them. Do you see what I'm trying to say? It's a different way of looking at the harmony that opens up, and it makes everything kind of the same thing. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, so those were some ideas on how to approach Django Reinhardt tunes or Django Reinhardt music with Barry Harris concepts. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I want to thank you for your time and attention. I shall see you next time.